This podcast represents the opinions of Andrew Porteous and his guests to the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only, and because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. I hope you enjoy this episode of the University Support and Success podcast with your host, Andrew Porteous. Now let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome back. Oh, that was weird running that and hearing my own voice. Don't know if I like that. So, hello everyone and welcome back. Please do like, share, subscribe, follow, give whatever satisfaction to me that you can on the platform you're watching this. I believe you can rate things or review things on different podcast platforms, so please do give us something nice on there as well. And the reason I say us is because I'm joined today by someone who, to put it, for the lack of a better term, popped my podcast cherry. We're just going to keep it lighthearted from now on. So today I am joined by Keith Blakemore-Noble, and to give you a little bit of a bio about him, you can see him next to me anyway if you're watching on YouTube. He is the award-winning international speaker, multi-time best-selling author, and the UK's #1 fear strategist coach. So, he's all of these, but he's also someone who used to be terrified of speaking with strangers and who allowed this fear to hold him back for decades, until one panic attack too many, which forced him to realize he needed to do something. And that something is something I like as well. He started immersing himself in NLP, hypnosis, and coaching and became a certified train the trainer level, which I am not, and used this skill to conquer his own fears, and then went on to help others develop their own mindset mastery, giving them the freedom to be, do, have what they most want. Whether it's conquering fears and phobias, breaking bad habits like smoking, overeating, or nail biting, I might need to talk to you, or conquering that stuff in your head that holds you back. Since 2010, he has used his skills and experience to help thousands of people across the planet to transform their lives. And we've got him with us today, guys. Technically, podcast #1, and we have got the #1, the UK's #1. I'm going to say the world. I'm just going to upgrade you now. And chime in whenever you like. The world's #1 fear strategist.
You heard it here first. Upgrade it to the world's #1. I like that. I guess I have to update the website now. Now you've called me that.
You might have to. All that SEO work.
Oh, well, it'll be worth it.
I guess as well, guys, I should probably say, hi, I'm Andrew from the Hyperlights community, and this is the University Support and Success podcast. #1's going to be a difficult one. So yeah, welcome to the first guest podcast. Whenever you're watching this, it will come out whenever it's set to come out. But we are joined by Keith, and the topic we wanted to discuss today was self-esteem and therefore confidence. So I guess the first thing that comes to my head, Keith, is what is self-esteem to you?
That is a very good question, isn't it? What is self-esteem? I'm trying to think how best to put it. I mean, self-esteem, it's kind of knowing that you are good enough, knowing that you deserve to be where you are. You have earned the right to be where you are, to do what you're doing, to say what you're saying. Knowing all of that, and knowing it with that quiet, unshakable confidence that even if somebody else decides they don't believe that you should be where you are, you know that you're there. You know the reason they don't believe it is just because they don't know the full story. They don't know the full journey. They don't know the full extent of your capabilities. And being okay with people perhaps not thinking that you deserve to be where you are, all of that would, to me, come under self-esteem. So it's kind of that certainty of knowledge about yourself and being okay with other people not believing it. And who cares what they think? You know inside that you deserve to be where you are.
I love that. I think the fact that from the set off, you literally said that it's kind of the acknowledgement of knowing other people might not think you can do what you do, but do it anyway, essentially. I'm paraphrasing probably really badly, but
No, you're doing a grand job.
just that understanding, because a lot of people see self-esteem as your self-worth, which is very different. And if we had like 24 hours, I'm pretty sure we could dive into both. But I think so many people think, oh, my confidence is my self-esteem. And I guess from your perspective, do you see those as different things, or are they almost the same / intrinsic?
I would say that they're certainly related and very, very interconnected. But to me, there would be a difference between confidence and self-esteem. And self-esteem would come from the confidence one has in oneself. Confidence and self-esteem kind of overlap, I would say. There are other areas of and aspects of confidence which don't necessarily form part of self-esteem. That said, if one has very low self-confidence, self-esteem is going to be probably pretty low as well. So they're different, but they're very, very interlinked, interconnected.
I love this. I feel like this discussion's going to be quite juicy. So, obviously, looking into your background and some of the things about you, I'm reading one of the quotes off your website, if I'm honest, but you said that you don't know how to explain it, but there's an eerie sense of power and accomplishment that comes from being able to walk into a room full of strangers and leave it as a room full of friends. The reason I pick that out is because for me and my anxiety, being able to go, like, that's my coping mechanism, is going into that room, not knowing anyone, but making sure I know everyone when I leave. So I found it so interesting that was on your website.
Yeah.
But the fact that you said that ordinary people don't do that sort of thing, where does that line come from? And I'm not like calling you out on that. I'm just asking.
That actually came to me. I was having a discussion with I forget the gentleman's name now. It'll come to me at some point. If I suddenly randomly shout out a name, it's because the name's come to me. But yeah, we were having a chat a few years ago actually about the different things we did and what we really like about what we each do, and that kind of came as a result of that. Because often when we do things, we kind of just take it for granted. Oh, yeah, that's what I do. But everyone does that. Surely I'm not special. I have particular talent. I do this and that. Yeah, but surely everybody does that. We don't always recognize that there are some things we do, some ways we behave, some skills we have that not necessarily everybody else has. And it can be a very powerful thing when you realize, hey, wow, I'm really good at this. I really enjoy doing this. Not everybody does do that. Lots of people want that, but not many people can do it. Maybe I have got a skill. And that, again, can form part of helping to boost your self-esteem. And the realization that not everybody can do what you do really does help to elevate in our own minds, elevate what we're doing from just everyone does that to maybe this is something that I can do for other people. Maybe this is a way I can serve and help other people. And part of that is realizing that not everybody does what I do. Therefore, there is a market for what I do. There is a calling for it. There is a need for it. Therefore, it's okay for me to step up and say, hey, you know what? I do this. Because not everybody's going to say, yes, so what? We all do that. Most people are going to go, oh, wow. And some people are going to go, oh, man, I need me some of that. Let's talk. So it all kind of came from that conversation a good few years ago. And I really liked the quote, turned it into a quote that's on the website. And
yeah,
it's cool that it resonated with you and that you picked it up. So that's a nice bit of validation that somebody else has looked at it and gone, I feel that.
It really did. And I think what you've said there is noticing and this is probably a term someone else has used, but seeing your brilliance in that way, and actually knowing that you can use that. And I love the fact that you used the word serve. You didn't use sell, you didn't use market,
Yeah.
you use serve. And I think that's a massive thing, especially in like our profession as coaches, that people think we're just selling, and we're just selling our time for the money. Once you get to know both of us, you can see that that's not what we do it for, because it's probably one of the hardest thing, because of that stigma of, oh, they're just a salesperson selling their time. But actually, the knowledge, experience, and background of what we do, like, I couldn't do what you do because I have I done hypnosis. I think I've watched a hypnotherapy show, like like an entertainment one,
All right.
and it was
Yeah.
quite funny,
Yeah.
but I've not experienced it to be able to comment, and I'm not trained in it. So, like you said, seeing that and putting that out to the world, you could have really, and I'm going to probably butcher this, but you could have gone really badly with your marketing and just said, I am a phobia coach. Now, let's be honest, that sounds a bit boring, but you went to the step of fear strategist. That completely changes the conversation.
Well, it does, and again, that was a deliberate decision, because there are lots of people who call themselves a fear coach, a phobia coach. Why would you come to me? And I was thinking, what is it that makes me different? What is it that makes me stand out? And I love the term fear strategist, because for me, there's kind of two meanings in there. One is that I have the strategies to help people overcome their fears and phobias, but the other aspect of it is, when you do anything, we use strategies. When we do a fear, or when we have a phobia, we have a strategy. We've got a strategy that tells us this is something to be scared of. We've got a strategy that tells us how to do the phobia. So when I work with people, where I'm using my strategies to help them change their strategies of how to behave when they encounter that thing. I kind of thought, oh, I like that. It's got more than one meaning. There's a nice bit of ambiguity there, which any hypnotists listening will be going, oh, yeah, ambiguity is a very useful component within hypnosis. And it just kind of all fitted. Yeah, you know what I do? It's fear strategy. It's not just I'm a fear coach. I'm a fear strategist. And it also sort of built on the background. I worked in IT for 20 years before I transitioned and do this. And a lot of what I did there was a lot of strategic work there, which involves a lot of listening, a lot of studying all of the situation before you even begin to formulate a plan. You need to fully understand it all and come up with your strategies for getting the solution. So, yeah, it all kind of fitted nicely. I liked it.
I like it as well. You're getting a lot of validation today.
Oh, bless you.
But I think as well, and I think people do like give me credit to things. You started the journey to conquer your fears, your
Yep.
kind of what was holding you back. The same way that when I went into learning coaching and NLP, I did it because I wanted it to improve my teaching in schools.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought, well, if I can help the children more, win-win.
Exactly.
And then I realized over the time that I was doing the course, I was like, I'm using these myself to get myself back to where I was going. Like,
Yeah.
like they say it's because it's called like a social science, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of the time, because it fits into somewhat psychology, so it's classed as like a social science. But I actually think it should be held with higher regard, because like if you look at anything, the way people word things, and this is linking more with the NLP, and it links with like affirmations and kind of mantras and all of that, it all comes down to the language you use.
Oh, yes.
And yet NLP is not held to the same regard as, say, oh, I'm trying to like work out a comparison. I guess you no, because that takes a lot more. I was going to say therapy, but that's like medical aspect, but on the same level, you can use NLP and hypnosis and coaching to reprogram how you think. It's just not as kind of emergency based, I guess, with therapy.
Yeah,
Because therapy's more,
yeah. I mean, a distinction I do sometimes make with people is that I call myself the fear. Well, I now call myself the world's #1 fear strategist. Thanks to you.
We love that.
Yeah. Now that's great because I can now legitimately say I have been called the world's #1 fear strategist. Oh, brilliant.
I've not known anyone else do what you do.
Well, this is true. This is true. I mean, when you get right down to it, basically, I'm a coach. It's what I do. If you had to describe what it is I do, and probably very similar for a lot of the stuff you do as a coach. Obviously, I don't use the term coach because lots of people call them that, and you need to stand out. But distinction that I will make with people is I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist. So, I mean, there are some things, some areas where a therapist is a much better person to help you. There are areas where a coach is a much better person to help you, and there are some areas which a coach or a therapist could help.
Yeah.
And the reason I make that distinction is I do sometimes get asked, "Hey, can you help with these sorts of things?" It's like, that's not really my area of expertise. Not really where a coach. You don't need a coach for that. A therapist is the kind of person that you're looking for because they've got the toolkit to fit your particular needs. And all of the things that we all use there, it's basically having a toolkit. And the bigger the toolkit you've got, the better able you are to address the situation. But it's knowing the limitations of your toolkit. I mean, for example, a mechanic, they got screwdrivers, pliers, all these sorts of things, a motor mechanic. A watchmaker has got pliers and screwdrivers and all these sorts of things, but they're very, very different tools, different size, they're designed for different ones, a lot more intricate. One is often used for bashing things until they work again. So you wouldn't look to get your watch repaired by a car mechanic. You wouldn't look to get your car repaired by a watchmaker, even though they've got broadly, if you take the top level view, they've broadly got the same tools.
Yeah.
But it's what the tools are designed for. And that's the same with therapy versus coaching. I think it's an important distinction to make there.
And I guess it almost comes back, and I know this is like a very cliche, like metaphor or visual, is that iceberg. Like, I feel as though a coach can go so deep, but a therapist, obviously, because of the therapy train, like all that goes behind it, they can go a lot deeper. Whereas I guess PR can do the surface level up. If you want to look at it like those three professions, like, because your public image, what you do behind it, and then what you do deeper. And I guess I'm going to coin that, and I'm going to make that into a visual.
There you go.
Because I just thought that up. But I think that's something that I've had to work on a lot over the last couple of years, really, majorly, is how I hold myself as a coach, as an NLP practitioner, as a teacher. Because for me, being my age is somewhat not a negative, because that sounds like I'm bashing myself, but a lot of people do see me in professional sense of, well, you're only 24. Well, actually, no, when this comes out, I will still be 24. But like, they say, oh, you're 24, and then they get to know me and they hear me talking and they're like, oh. And then they'll come back and say, what's your opinion on this? But I guess that links back to the self-esteem of, I just kind of accept that they're going to see that.
Yeah, it's exactly the point. The observation I was going to make there. Your self-esteem is strong enough that you recognize that you are good as a coach in the areas in which you seek to serve people. You recognize that within yourself. You know that you have the certainty, and you know that some people will look and go, he's only in his early 20s. What would he know about life? And your self-esteem now is such that you're able to go, yeah, okay, that's their belief. That's their belief. It doesn't have to be my belief. and it doesn't change
Yeah.
what I know about myself. It's a brilliant illustration of the power of and importance of self-esteem.
I think that, and I don't know how you approached it, but I think that's where I was so open about my story in general. And obviously, I talk about it in business networking. I talk about it to clients. I'm very open about my story.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost think that that was my strategy of combating what I knew people would see.
And
And I wonder, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a good strategy, because whenever anybody encounters a coach or is considering working with a coach or anything like that, obviously they're gonna need reassurance. They're going to be looking for, can this person help me? Basically, first of all, can what I have be helped? Can I be helped? Can this person help me? What is it about this person that can help me? Now, I do talk about my story from time to time, and it's out there. I've spoken at length about it in various places. So if people want to find it out, it's there. I don't talk about it as much these days, because over the 12 years, helping thousands of people around the planet to transform their deepest fears into their greatest strengths, in that gives people the confidence. Oh, okay, so he's in his 50s. He's been doing this for well over a decade. He's helped thousands of people like me. Okay, that's the person I need to speak with. In your case, you haven't got the great long track record. So how do you demonstrate that you are the person to help with this? By showing your story, by showing you've been where they are. They want to be where you are. You've made that journey. You know how to help others make that journey, which is where the importance of sharing your story, and you do it beautifully. You do it really well. The importance of sharing that story shows you've got the confidence, the self-esteem to be able to do that, which again is probably something that people looking to work with you want. I mean, they're not going to come to a coach who's very shy and unconfident, and it's like, is that really what I want? But they can see the confidence in you, they can see the strength in you, and they can see, oh my word, this guy has been through it. Maybe I can trust him, or at least I can trust enough to find out a bit more. And from that point, they then discover that this is the person I want to work with. So yeah, there are different strategies we have of letting people see, hey, this is why I feel I can be of service and help you with what you're looking for.
Oh, I'm like heartwarmed there.
Aww.
We're like bigging each other up. I love it. So I guess obviously the topic of our podcast today, and I'm gonna put it somewhere in the title, is self-esteem, which I think the next thing I thought of was, what are your kind of top tips to improve someone's self-esteem?
Now, so are we talking about improving somebody else's self-esteem, or are we talking about how one can improve one's own self-esteem?
If one of our listeners was trying to improve their own,
right,
how would you suggest going about that?
Okay, so going back to what we spoke about, what makes self-esteem, excuse me, I think a couple of really important things that you can do. One of them is to basically sit back and sort of do a stock take of the skills that you have, the experience you have. Because when we start learning something, we start as a complete beginner, obviously, and we practice it, we use it. The more we use it, the more we build that skill, that experience molds and shapes it and elevates it from just being a skill that we've learned to something that we have mastery of, or even artistry with. And that takes time, and it goes slowly over that period of time. It's not like one day I'm a beginner, the next day, hey, I'm an expert. Yay, there was the jump. I made it. So often we don't realize the steps that we've taken over that time. So the first thing I'd suggest is take an inventory of what your skills are. I mean, yes, when you started, you're a beginner. Most of us still kind of stay in that sort of headspace of, oh, I'm just beginning about that. I'm not as good as that person who's 10 years ahead of me. That person will always be 10 years ahead of you because they started 10 years earlier, but that's not the person you're comparing against. When you've been doing it for a year, you're already a year ahead of where you were when you started. And we don't always realize that. So it's a take stock of what skills do you have? It doesn't matter at this point whether they're skills anybody else would want. Spoiler, there will be somebody who wants what you have. But take stock of what are the skills that you have? How do you know you have those skills? Because that's often a really important question to ask ourselves when we say something. Well, how do I know that? Because that then gets your mind really looking for the evidence to prove it. Because your mind knows it's true because it said it. It's now looking for the evidence to prove it. So take stock of those and kind of rate the skills and allow yourself the time to realize, hey, actually, I am pretty good at this. Here's the results that I've got. So that takes the first part of the self-esteem, actually recognizing what you have, which is probably a lot more than you think. And it's probably a lot more advanced than you've allowed yourself to realize, because if you're like most people, you won't have paused and recognized how far you've come.
Yeah.
And then the second part is to realize that other people will have different opinions, and that's absolutely fine. The crucial thing is that is their opinion. It doesn't have to be your opinion. And just as we should never judge ourselves and compare ourselves against other people, we shouldn't allow other people's comparisons to impact us. I mean, sometimes when I'm helping people to kind of look at the dangers, the danger of comparing what's going on in here with what's going on outside and someone else, cast your mind back. It's not going to be as far back for you as it is for some of us, Andrew, but cast your mind back to when you're in school and exams.
Oh, no.
Exactly. Now, I don't know if you're anything like me, the invigilator would say, you may now begin. Oh, thanks. So you turn over the page, take a look at the first question. Okay, we'll come back to that one. Second question, yeah, we'll come back to that. Third, before you know it, you've reached the end of the paper. You're going, I don't know. I suppose I better go back and see if I can salvage something. And you pause and you look around, and there's somebody over there who's busy frantically writing away like mad. And you're thinking, oh my God, they've got all the answers. I can barely even remember my name. Oh, I've screwed this up. And we assume they're doing really well, and we're gonna screw it up. We then get over it, and we actually start tackling the answers. And somehow we manage to scrape our way through the exam and get our grades. But what we've done is we compared what's going on inside us with what we can see on the outside of the other person. If we were able to see inside and be inside that person's head, chances are, far from going, oh, I know these answers, I have so got this, here's an A star coming, they're probably thinking, oh my God, I don't know, maybe if I just start dumping down things that are coming to my head, maybe something will come out and I can make something out of it. Oh God, come on, let's get writing and see if we can create something. We're all panicking on the inside, but we see the calm exterior on the outside, just like the swan gliding serenely along under the water, feet pedaling like mad. So we shouldn't compare what's going on inside us with what we see in other people, and flip that round. Recognize that when other people are comparing what's going on inside them with what they see on the outside of us, they don't have the full story. They don't know the journey we've gone through. They don't know the people we've helped. They don't know our experiences. So if they think, what's Andrew going to know about coaching? So he's only 24. What's he going to know about it? That's absolutely fine. That's their stuff. That's their problem. That's their thoughts. Doesn't detract from the fact that Andrew's been through a lot. He's lived through it. He has found a way through it. He's developed tools and techniques. He's studied and applied NLP and all of these other things to help him navigate his journey, from which he's now able to help other people with their journey. And so for everyone listening to this who maybe feels their self-esteem could do with a bit of help, work out what you've got so that you know what you've got, and then realize some people will see that and go, yay, you absolutely rock. Some people will look and go, you're rubbish. Why are you saying you can do that? And just realize it's their stuff. It's their opinion. It belongs to them. It doesn't have to be your opinion. Just accept that, hey, yeah, that's what you see. Okay, that's fair enough. I know it's not the truth because I know I got this. So that would be the two-pronged attack that I would suggest to start getting you down the road, getting anyone listening to this or watching this, get them down the road to building their self-esteem, build it up and realize that what other people think ultimately doesn't really matter because they don't know what's going on inside. They can only see the exterior.
Wow. Guys, if you are listening, visit his website because you just got like a free little tidbit. But yeah, no, I agree with that completely, and I'm somewhat lost in you explaining that. I do think for me it was very much I did write down what I at the time thought I was good at, which looking back before the last 2 years, I'm not going to say the word just in case an algorithm picks it up and restricts me.
Yes.
But the last 2 years I've learned a lot about myself, and like I think when I started my business, my core values for the business was educate, inspire, develop.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now, and people are going to say it's slightly gimmicky, I've changed it to my guide values because apparently I came up with values that their first letters spell out guide, which I thought was quite cool.
Nice.
And obviously they go a lot like, so it's growth, understanding, inspiration, development, and education. Because for me, those are what I do.
Mm-hmm.
There are some aspects where the E changes to entertainment because I am slightly kooky and my videos and stuff does like get a laugh sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I'm just open and honest and bit I don't want to say quirky because that's been thrown around the internet a lot at the moment.
Esoteric.
But yeah, we'll go with that.
Has the beauty of being another E.
Oh, there we go. So I guess my next kind of thought line, and this is almost like a deep dive. When you kind of went on your journey and you were obviously originally scared to talk in front of people,
mm-hmm.
what kind of put you to the point that you were like, I can do this? Like, what was that switch moment that you just let go and let it happen?
So you mean what was the point at which I went, actually, I've got this. I can do this. I am doing this. Yeah, that is a really interesting question. And the reason I'm saying that is nobody's ever asked me that one before. They've always asked the question of what caused you to go down this journey, but nobody's ever said, at what point did you realize, actually, I've got this? Which is really interesting. And I do have the answer. I do know the answer because it's something which I remember really clearly because afterwards I thought, wow, yes, that really does prove that I've done this. It was while I was still in IT. Previously, I'd often get invitations to seminars and conferences and all these sorts of things, and that's where you learn a lot of stuff. You keep updated with technology because in IT it's very, very fast paced, fast change, and it's also where you would do a lot of networking. It's where you make your contacts and your connections, and sooner or later you reach a level in your career where it's who you know, not what you know, that gets you your next role. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's what it means is you're at such a suitably high level that it's through your connections that you find out about the roles because people want somebody that they know they can trust rather than a random person applying for the job. So these sorts of things, seminars and conferences and so on, they're important to go to for those reasons. But for me, I was in those days terrified of speaking to strangers. That's not overstating. I was genuinely terrified. even the thought of it was enough to put me into a panic. So I'd see all these, get all the things through about these seminars and so on. I'd be like, I'd read the different topics that are going to be covered. And I was, oh, wow, yeah, this is going to be cool. Really, it'd be interesting. And then I'd look at the agenda and I'd see right at the start 3 words which would always fill me with dread: registration and coffee. It's like, oh God, I've got to spend half an hour chatting with complete strangers. I can't do this. And more often than not, I'd find excuses to not be able to go to the seminar. After I'd started doing the work on myself, because bear in mind, I learned all this NLP and the hypnosis and everything. It was pure. The aim was purely to sort myself out, carry on with in IT. That was the aim at the time. So I sorted my stuff out, and I was going to a whole day conference where they were demonstrating some new technologies, and I was really looking forward to it. And I thought, oh, great, here we go. So turned up there, register. They then show you into the room, and they say, oh, there's teas and coffees on the side, and we'll be starting in half an hour. Oh, great, yay, let's start having a chat with people. What they had done with this one was they'd actually put the teas and coffees at one side in the room where the thing was going to be, with all the chairs. So most people would just grab a tea or coffee, sat down in the chair, and kept themselves to themselves. Like, there's nobody to talk to. They're all, oh, that's a bit disappointing. Which is, previously, that would have been my idea of heaven. Yay, I can grab a cup of tea and then sit down and... It's like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. I'm disappointed that I can't chat with these people. Then what I did early on in the conference, I sort of had a look around. I'm like, you, and you. I've no idea who any of the 3 of you are. Before the end of today, I'm going to have got your business cards, and I'm going to have a reason to have a phone call with you within the next couple of weeks. And that's exactly what I did. Chatting with people. I didn't make a beeline for those 3 straight away. It's like, well, that's a bit sort of stalkerish, but I'm chatting with people and getting introduced to people, and then we break into groups, and I made sure I connected with, as well as everyone else I connected with those 3 people, got their cards, and got an agreement with them that, hey, yeah, let's have a phone call in a week or a couple of weeks' time and have a chat about X, Y, and Z. And I came away from the thing with the 3 cards, the 3 dates in the diary, and it was like, yes, I made that happen. None of that I would never have done any of that in the past. I would have been breaking it at the thought of doing that. I just made it all happen and enjoyed doing it. Thoroughly enjoyed doing it. And I remember coming home from that going, yep, we've cracked this.
Oh, that's amazing. That's your oh, I'm trying to... This is where I get so in awe of things and then I lose what I want to say. That's, how would you say it? I guess that would be your, and it probably sounds cliche now, but your tipping point. And I think that's something that people need to realize as well, that you're not going to expect it. It will just happen because you have obviously put the work in. You made those decisions that you were going to get the cards, you were going to do that, you were all those steps you put in place to make sure that you achieved your kind of goal. And I don't like the word goal, mainly because I don't like sports. So I normally do it as aims or focus points. That's what I call them, because goals just reminds me of PE in school, and I didn't like that.
Me neither, to be perfectly honest. Me neither.
I felt slightly itchy when you started mentioning exams. I picked a degree at university that required no exams.
Ooh, nice one.
So I had coursework for my whole 4 years.
Luxury.
Because I hated exams. Because for me, I think, and hopefully listeners will already know this, because of my ADHD, my articulation... So in a pressured situation where I have to try and get my thoughts down onto paper, it ain't happening.
I can imagine. I imagine that would be tricky enough at the best of times, let alone in exam conditions, which, let's face it, is a lot of pressure for anyone.
But obviously back then in exams, didn't know I had ADHD. So there was no explanation. I just knew I hated it. But it was that typical, like, I could probably go into an exam now and manage because, well, the chronic pain would probably hold me back wrist-wise, trying to write out. If I could type it, I'd be golden. But again, I have to sense check everything. But that was the tipping point for me. I was like, I don't know how to do this immediately, so I don't have to.
Ooh.
And that was my kind of acceptance of, I can talk. Everyone knows I can talk. But when it comes to writing, if I need someone else to do that for me, I can do that. And I think I discovered that through having disabled student allowance while at uni. So they gave me a note taker, so like an audio note taker, so I could record them and then write down later. And that's where I started to get better. And if anyone from the UK is listening to this and want to know what disability allowance for students is, please do drop a comment or email me, because I will tell you all about it, because they did really support me in my last couple of years when I got my ADHD diagnosis. That tipping point, and I'm gonna say now that I'm gonna talk about a sensitive topic just for the recording. Your tipping point in that, or your kind of realization there, was almost it was on a similar vein of how I stopped myself from making a certain decision that would mean none of this happening right now would happen. That's probably the best way to write it without having to say it. But I was sat there, somewhat had it all set up and stuff, and I realized that I had dedicated, it was 2019, so I would have been, oh no, 2018, so I would have been about 19, no, 20, no, because I was 1993, no, 1997. I would have been uni third year, 2018, 18, 19, 20, 21. I would have been about 21. Just before I was 21. So I was 20. Sorry, me with maths. I'm normally quite good, but when it comes to my age and stuff, questionable. I have an app that reminds me exactly how old I am.
Wait till you get my age. It's like, oh God, how old am I? Oh, I don't know. Big number.
Well, it's like, I think it's because I'm so used to not saying my age, because people are like, oh, you're too, like, I'm too old now, or you're making me feel old. So I just don't say it that often. So I just forget what age I am. But I was sat there, obviously, I was about to make that decision, and I can't remember what it was. Something popped up on my phone, and it was something about, I don't know what it was, but my background at the time was like an affirmation kind of vision board.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw it, and I was like, right, I've dedicated the last 10 years of my life to help, like, children, young people, and whatnot. Like, I was training to be a teacher. That was my focus for that long. And I call it the light bulb or like switch moment for me, because that's when I decided that I had more to give in that situation. Like, I knew that I could give more love to my family. I could give more knowledge, experience, and help to others. And I knew that if I made the decision I was aiming to make, that would all disappear. But also, I realized, and a lot of people don't talk about this, is that when you make decisions like that, and I'm still not saying it because I know some people listening might find it difficult, when you're at that point, the decision might, in the moment, relieve your pain, but then it doesn't disappear. And I link it back to physics or whatever the science is that does this, but it's energy can't be created or destroyed. So you trying to destroy your pain just transfers it. And I think that's something I've learned with my self-esteem to talk about. That is, I made that decision to just not just work through it, but like yourself, I made those steps to get me to where I wanted to be. Whilst mine's, I hate saying it's darker, but it's interesting to see that it's not just those kind of moments that have those light bulb or switch flicks, because you obviously didn't want to speak to strangers and you got over that. And like, that's almost what I want this podcast to be. And I'm loving that this is the first episode. Technically, there are some like bonus contents that's already gone out, but this is like the first episode, and I think it's going to be helpful for students and young people, whoever you're watching it to, or listening to it, to actually understand that if they're in those positions, if they're fearful to do something, or if they're potentially making decisions like mine, there's that alternative perspective. And I think that came from the NLP, because is it representational systems of your different perspectives? That was a light bulb for me, and actually understanding that there's like my view, someone else's view, but there's that third view of like every situation has different perspectives. And I think linking back to whilst people are self-conscious about what they're doing because they think people are looking at them, you have to understand that those people are self-conscious about themselves, thinking you're looking at them. And it's that continual thing of everyone's worried about everything, but we don't give ourselves enough credit that we get through every day with it all. And
I mean, a couple of things that come up to me from what you were saying there. One is, it reminds me of a really good quote, phrase, whatever you call it. It basically says, at age 20, we spend our lives worried about what other people think about us. At age 40, we don't care what other people think about us. At age 60, we realize they weren't thinking about us anyway. And which again can really help with our self-esteem, because often we're worried, what if they don't like us? What will they think about us? I remember a few years ago I was helping somebody who had massive agoraphobia, a massive fear of being out, because one of the big things was they were terrified of what other people would be thinking of them. And we had a breakthrough. We actually went to a cafe and sat there. It's like, right, we went in when it was empty, because we fortunately knew the owner, so we were able to get in just before it was open. So we got in, not walking into a crowded one. Got them sat down, looking at the menu, and they're saying, "Oh, everybody's going to be looking at me. Everybody's going to be thinking, oh, why are they eating that, and why are they dressed like that?" So, okay, just a moment, pause, just look me straight in the eyes. Just look me straight in the eyes. Okay, the person sat on your right, what color top are they wearing? I don't know. Okay, the person on the left, what food have they got? I don't know. Exactly. Do you think they're going to know what you're wearing or what you're eating? No. We're all focusing on what we're doing and what's going on in our own life. And for them, that was quite a light bulb moment. It really helped to kind of get over the point that we worry so much about what others think about us. Most of the time, they're not, because they're too busy worried about their own stuff. And you were touching upon that 3 perspectives thing, which forms the basis of a really powerful tool that I love using in the right situation.
Yeah.
Perhaps looking at one way I've used it, which worked really well actually, was somebody was having a difficult relationship with money. There all sorts of issues around money, and this is one of the tools that we used. Is okay, as you describe your relationship with money, and they described it and what it means to them and all of this sort of thing. Cool. Now what I'd like you to do is just imagine you are money. Just imagine your money. I really got them to imagine that. Now describe that relationship. Describe how this person is treating you and all of this. Describe that and say, right, now I'd like you to imagine you're a wizard and you're watching these two different people. What are you observing? What would be your suggestions? What do you see as going on? Because by what we're so often we're in our head or in a situation, we can sometimes put ourselves in the other person's shoes and kind of get a bit of an idea. But when we can then completely detach and have that independent third person view, it's like, oh, okay, now I see it completely differently. And when you then bring all three perspectives together, it's like, now it makes sense. Now I can see a way through it. Whereas before, we're just so stuck in what's going on inside our own head. And again, that can really help with self-esteem when we're worried about what other people think. So okay, put yourself in that person's shoes. What are they seeing? What are they not seeing? What are they seeing that enables them to think that? What are they missing that stops them from seeing the real you? And then become this detached third person. What do they see as the overall thing? What's going on? And so we get to see it from all these different perspectives. It can be a tricky thing to do, but once you're able to start doing that, really, really does open up the mind to greater possibilities and greater understanding and ultimately acceptance of what is going on, which again, tying in with the theme of confidence and self-esteem, really helps with our self-esteem. When we can accept other people are going to think differently. Some people are going to think I'm absolute rubbish at this. That's their problem. That's their belief. Good luck to them. I know I'm good at it. This is why. And I'm good with other people thinking whatever they want because they're not the people that I'm looking to serve anyway. The ones I'm looking to serve are the people who recognize the skills I have meet the requirements that they have.
Oh, I love that. And, I feel like, and I say this with a lot of people that I talk to on lives or videos, and there's people, and I think I do it on purpose. I pick people to talk to that I could talk for hours with, because I think I know a lot of people now that are of the same mind space, and I say space because mindset seems restrictive, but I do tend to associate with people that kind of are on my, to put it in a spiritual context, the vibration that I'm on. And I vibe with people. And I think that's where I get my good connections from now, is that vibe and that kind of understanding of how to sense that in people. And I think it's so, like, I'm telling everyone, like, try and get in contact with Keith, and all of his links will be down below, because literally conversations I have with Keith, with like people that don't do what me and Keith do, they grow me, like they invigorate me enough to want to make changes in my life. And I think that's going to be my favorite thing from doing this podcast, is being able to talk to people about topics that I like, they're interested in, or they work in, sharing that. And people are going to get to know yourself, myself, like all of us really well, because we're not selling, if that makes sense. And I think I loved that about being on your podcast, is that I wasn't selling, I was just talking about my experiences and like diving into that. And I think that's going to be my favorite bit, is learning more. It's like having an extended one-to-one in business networking.
Absolutely.
It's just we're sharing it with people. But I am conscious of your time. I don't want to use much of it up. So obviously, I'll let you now, if you would like, to do a little shout out of where people can find you, where they can connect with you, or spam you if you want that, but don't ask for too much. But yeah, let us know where we can find
Will
you
do.
online.
Just before we do that, from what you were saying, and I love the way that you seek to connect with people, guests on your podcast, people who you could chat with for hours. Are you open to a challenge, Andrew, that will help you grow in ways that you perhaps hadn't considered?
We'll go for it.
Right.
We'll say
All
yes
right.
for the
I like that.
for the audience. I'll do it for
I
the pod.
like that. You can always edit this out, of course. Find somebody who you feel you couldn't talk with for ages. Somebody who you feel would be difficult to have a full half hour or hour podcast conversation with. Connect with them and have them as a guest.
Ooh.
It's all about stepping out of our comfort zones, because sometimes we just get comfortable doing what we're doing, which is, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with being in our comfort zone. Absolutely nothing wrong at all. And sometimes it's nice just to throw in a little pebble and make ourselves a little bit uncomfortable and go, right, well, I can do these with people I can chat with for ages. What if I found somebody who I thought would be difficult to chat with? How can I make that work? And we find in the process of doing that, we grow.
Oh, wow. The podience. We're going to call it podience.
I like that term. Yes. Yeah.
We'll go with it. They heard it here first. We're going to see. I'm obviously not going to admit to anyone that the individual is the person I probably couldn't speak to. So I apologize to anyone that's booked in to be a guest with me if you're listening to this. Obviously, I have yet to decide who this person is. So it'll be like roulette. That could be interesting. Yeah. It's like a little game, and only people that listen till the end of the video will know about it. So I might have to put that in the description as well.
Here's a guest I can't stand and would hate to speak with. Let's see what happens when we lock ourselves in a room for an hour. Probably best not to pre-frame it with that. Very true.
So yeah, we're not going to tell anyone.
I think that would be the best thing. Is just don't tell anyone ever.
I wonder if people will notice. I wonder if anyone would notice. That would be an interest. So that's the challenge for the audience: is do you notice it? And the challenge to me is,
because if they don't notice,
that's fun.
You've cracked it.
I know, that's good. There we go. So yes, do shout out where we can find
Brilliant.
you.
I am blessed with having a unique name. There is nobody else on the planet with the name Keith Blakemore-Noble, which makes it easy to find me. If you search on any search engine, whatever comes up, good or bad, it's me. Probably the best place, easiest place to find me is just go to Keith Blakemore-Noble, all one word, no hyphens or a space or anything, keithblakemorenoble.com. That's my website. Get all my details there. Find resources there, blogs, podcasts, including Andrew's episode, and all sorts there. Or check me out on the socials. Again, just look for Keith Blakemore-Noble on the socials. Most of the social media platforms I'm on, the username is Keith Blakemore-Noble. And do get in touch. Let's have a chat. Let me know what you think. Always up for having a chat.
Awesome. So all of his links will be below, and I'll also pop his bio just in case you want to read it as well as listen to me say it, because I probably we'll just stick with that. We'll let you read it.
You read it beautifully, Andrew.
I see, because I hadn't edited it to like say he instead of I, so I was like editing it as I was reading it, but only the people that listen to the end will know that. So we're all good. So yeah, that's going to be us, I think.
Good to me.
And love the fact that you are my first guest, and I was first on a podcast with you, so it's firsts for everything. But yeah, thank you for coming on, having a chat. I love a chit chat about quite an important topic, I think, to kick us off with the podcast. So I will mention to the audience now that you can see all the podcasts early by clicking on the link in the description, and it will take you to my community platform where I've got exclusive pre-early access for just £5 a month, but you also get loads of other benefits as well. I've only launched it recently, So do go check that out. The link will be below. I have been Andrew Porteous, joined by the lovely Keith Blakemore-Noble. I don't know which side he'll be, but lovely. We will see you on the next one. I'm sure Keith has got to go and sort some fears out. Like a firefighter, but with fears. Love it. So that is us. Thank you for listening. Do please share, subscribe, follow, like, love, react, review, whatever you can do on the platform you're on. And I will see you in the next one with our next guest, which you'll find out about very soon. Bye.